Yeah, so the silence is already complete. Never lacking. So if I want to lack, I have to go to thought. That's the only way, right? As wholeness, being wholeness, it can't help but be whole. So these limitation thoughts, as they are, seemingly, are just not given so much attention anymore. Who cares? So for so long, I searched for the right thought, the perfect thought, the thought that would answer all questions, and then that would bring me to peace. And it never worked. Maybe we can talk a little bit, and Eric or Dan or anybody can jump in if you've noticed that the beliefs just thin out. Beliefs that you used to really hold near and dear, you just can't hold, you can't hold anything near and dear anymore.
Yeah, I find that what I've noticed is that the logical process, the thinking, it's like a step by step, this, therefore that. And when I allow that process to not be, when I say, I don't have the energy right now to put effort into that process. It's not like I choose this or I can do this, but for the sake of the language, I can be like, okay, I can't figure it out. And so what? Everything still is what it is, what it is. And I can't find a center or a one who owns what is apparently going on, whether it's my emotions or my opinions about what's happening. If I can't explain it, okay, fine. When I don't explain it, it's just this random occurrence. And if I look at it just from a basic standpoint of what's going on and what can I find, I can't find a position where all of that stuff originates or hangs out. It just seems to be kind of happening, if that makes sense or not. I don't know.
Well, I go with the foundation that none of my thoughts are mine, and that everything just like evens out.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that everything evens out. I mean, there is this almost sense that as I acknowledge that this kicking up the dust of trying to figure things out, is sort of not surrendered with will, but apparently is surrendered from. Like I kind of seem to give up from the figuring out and the kicking up dust. Everything still is going on. There's not a lack of activity just because I am not perceiving of it. It's still, time just happens apparently. And I don't know what else to say about it other than that, whether I seem to engage or not, everything just is. Is anyone here, I'm just curious, a fan or a listener from time to time of Alan Watts? I just don't know what we all listen to, and I've had a lot of affinity apparently for him for a long time.
So an affinity can arise, like, but there's no reason or cause for it. It can leave as quickly as it came, and it doesn't need a reason. It's like the idea of improvement is something the me is interested in, but not wholeness. Yeah, The Wisdom of Insecurity, Alan Watts. I have that book. The Wisdom of Insecurity. You know, I never read it. I have it. It turned brown. All the pages turned brown over the years, but I never read it because the title to me captured everything. The Wisdom of Insecurity. To me, that just said the wisdom of not knowing, because it's just honest. That's the thing about it. It's not special. It's nothing magical. It's just you don't know. That's what's up. But even thinking that you know is this too. So that's why it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that was the only one that I read. And I don't know, I have a whole bookshelf full of maybe 50 books that I haven't touched. And that was the only one that I ever read. And I can't remember anything that he said. So kind of like you said, Michael, the title sort of captures the whole thing. It's just there's no real sense for what's going on. It just is apparently going on.
Yeah. And when you hear the word wisdom, we normally think of words, great quotes, Shakespearean, delicious bon mots. But not knowing, it's like all those descriptions and beliefs that other people have and that you have, suddenly you can't believe your own stuff that you just, you don't say much because you just know, well, okay, my opinion's just as good as yours. Yeah, so that's actually in direct contradiction with the me, right? Because the me is built on knowing. And the more I know, the better. The more people I know, the more resources I know. It's all about knowing. It's built on that. But wholeness, let me ask you, what does wholeness depend on? That's freedom. No struggle. How could nothing struggle? Hi, Nkosi, welcome.
Hi, Michael. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Nkosi.
And it goes,
Uh,
So something comes up that if there is no me to intervene with anything, then any apparent popping up in whatever form is this too, without any qualification or preconditions. So it's irrelevant whether it feels pleasant or not, that's this too. And it's like, how can one make a distinction between shapes and streaks on a gray canvas when the paint that's being used is the same color? I just, like you were saying, Michael, even though there may be knowing or apparent not knowing, either one apparently is this too. So there really, truly is no fucking up and no direction.
That's beautiful, Eric.
So we could make the non-duality chat where we just shoot the breeze about our favorite foods and it would have the same outcome.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah. Keeping quiet or not is the same, because all is this. It doesn't matter if they seem to be talking happening or not talking happening, just silence. And nothing matters to this. This doesn't mind what's happening, what seems to be happening. You know, as a matter of fact, right now, there's nothing happening. There's nothing happening. And an appearance or a thought may seem to appear that, oh, something is happening. Oh, Nkosi is talking, Eric is talking, Michael is talking. But that's just an appearance in this. It's just what seems to appear in this as this. So there's nothing wrong or right with anything here. It's just what seems to be happening. And it's got nothing to do with what seems to be an individual. Because what seems to be an individual is just this too. So there's no escape here. Whether there is talking happening or not talking happening, it doesn't really matter.
And Kosi, I'm wondering if we can reflect on maybe unconditional love and things that crop up in the mind, like how could war be unconditional love or unconditional anything other than just something awful?
Yeah, I can. When you say war, that can also be another beautiful label appearing in this. It's just a label. It's just a label, because every expression, no matter which shape or form it may appear to be, is just wholeness expressing as that. So war, love, hatred is the same. It doesn't really matter. Nothing matters to this.
So that means that this doesn't always feel blissful or any way in particular.
Yeah, what seems to be love, joy, peace, happiness may seem to appear and disappear in it. This the same as hatred, jealousy may appear and disappear, but it doesn't matter. This remains as it is. It's just what is. You know, it's not. It doesn't have any preference. It doesn't say, oh, this shouldn't appear. That shouldn't appear. There are no should and shouldn'ts. And what seems to be happening right now is just its expressions. It's just this expressing itself. So there can never be anything outside of this. Even war, quarrels, misunderstanding, love, peace, joy appears in it and disappears in it as it.
Can you distinguish between this and nihilism?
And nihilism. Can you rephrase that?
The belief that nothing matters.
No, there's just this. Everything is this.
I've heard it said that nihilism says that nothing matters for the me, whereas non-duality says there is no me for the thing to matter to. But distinctions, I guess, also don't matter.
They don't matter. They're just seen as appearances. You know, appears and disappear. Nothing matters to this. The one who seems to say, I hate this, and the one who seems to say, I love this. It's the same. Because it's just this expressing as that. So there can never be anyone. Or the one who says, I hate this, doesn't necessarily mean that that one is outside of this.
Right.
It's
So-
just this.
Earlier, I mentioned Alan Watts, and the reason was because I find it, well, Alan Watts, I love to listen to him, and at the same time, he was regularly imbibing in excessive, you may say, amounts of alcohol, and that's this too, apparently.
I also had that, who's that guy? I don't know how to pronounce his name. Like an Indian guru. They say Nisa.
Nisargadatta Maharaj.
Yes. I also heard that he used to smoke a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, really. What I can say about that, there is no one there. There's no person there.
There's just alcoholing.
It's just what seems to be happening. It's just wholeness expressing as that. It's not that there's somebody who's smoking, who's drinking, a real somebody. No, it's just wholeness expressing as that. So there's nothing wrong or right with anything. What seems to be a thought saying, oh, that is wrong, that shouldn't be happening. A guru is not supposed to smoke or drink. That's just that's just what seems to be appearing in this.
Mhm.
It's just this expressing as that. So
There's this image of sparks shooting off and guilt being part of the sparks, and it's inexplicable. It just becomes labeled as guilt somehow in the story, but I just can't explain it. Apparently there has been guilt for the use or misuse of substances, and then there has been the expression of the use of substances and the lack of apparent judgment, but apparently cropping up of any and all emotions at whatever period of time, just the recognition that it's akin to sparks flying. And I can't say anything else other than that, then it's absolutely, it really doesn't matter. It really is not a word.
yeah. Guilt has to do with somebody doing it. Somebody who thinks he's doing it. Guilt has to do with what seems to be an individual or an imagination that I'm this body, then I'm doing this and that. So guilt has to do with that. But if there's no my imagination that there's somebody there, then there's no guilt. Everything is just unfolding. It's just what seems to be happening. And you can't do anything about the desire. A desire is just appearing by itself. It's not that you are the one who's desiring. There's no you to desire anything. As long as the desire is still there, what seems to be happening may continue to happen until the desire fades away. So nothing is suppressed here. You can't get rid of the desire.
Evidently.
You never created it.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
You're welcome.
You could say that guilt is a knowing. I know something. I did something wrong. I could have handled the situation better. I should have known better. This is all knowing.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody who thinks he knows or she knows, but even that too is just wholeness expressing, and that's beautiful, also beautiful, just the way it is. There's nothing wrong or right with it.
Absolutely. And even on the surface, I can't find a beginning to it because I didn't create out of nothing those belief systems. They were already there, if that.
Yeah.
And then it happened that this apparent individual sort of glommed on to those things that had seemingly been there for time immemorial. Like I'm talking about guilt.
Yeah. And identified with them.
So Eric, is the guilt yours?
It's just guilt. It just hangs out. I don't know where it comes from.
When I feel guilt, I always feel a fear of punishment. I'm going to be punished somehow. So there's a fear that comes up with that. Like I did something wrong, then I'm guilty, and now I'm gonna get beat up. Or something's gonna happen. A friend will pull away from me. That gets to be really strong.
So in a way,
No,
that's
this-
kind of a knowing too. Can you see?
Yes. Yeah, I see that. It's quite a quagmire, that whole thing.
If I may, part of my background is I went to graduate school for psychology counseling, and we learned about Polybagel Theory, and this is all knowing, right? Apparently, but the way that it relates now is that we are nervous systems that are spontaneously being interacted with, and impressions are being made upon them. And those impressions are elicited based on the things that happen in our environment. And it's so spontaneous. There's not a one who decides to be triggered or decides to have certain associations. It just is all happenstance based on the time and place, apparently, that you were born. And this chain reaction happens from that point, apparently. And so it just stands to reason that even on the surface, it can't be found that there is a me who owns or possesses all of those experiences. They're just a part of some inexplicable, without a beginning or an end chain. Yeah. I don't know.
So Eric, that would be an answer to why there is no knowledge.
Yeah.
Because knowledge would have to start at a particular place in the chain that was like the position from which we can get some real knowledge. But there is no place in that chain. It's just endless, endless, endless in every direction, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So no matter how many details the mind apparently will reckon with, it's all just mind trying to find an explanation.
Right, and the good solid me will find an explanation or a story that it can stick with, that's, you know, and try to make it work. But none of those stories will actually work because none of them will be true. They're just all stories, no matter how solid it seems. So, yeah. And none of them apply to this moment, really, because it just really applies to the story, the mental story, but none of it is relevant to actually what's here. That's why we keep saying this is what's relevant. And there's no story. And then this isn't any place. It's not it hasn't taken its place, you know, in the middle of any chain of information, like you're saying. And it's always new. It's always new information.
Someone brought up this concept to me of it's constantly new and being burned up. It's always
Exactly.
created and destroyed constantly.
Right. Being born and dying at the same moment, same time. But how could you get a handle on that? There's nowhere to hold on.
No, and it's interesting, the wheels spin of apparent logicking or whatever, but there's no center from which that originates or ends.
Mhm.
It's just a spontaneity, like anything. And again, I find it intriguing. I know for some reason I'm focused on Alan Watts today, but he will talk about nothing and everything and ridiculousness with apparent logic. And that's just this, and it's not really logical, but it still happens. And he may as well, again, be talking about his favorite foods. It would be the same. But somehow he can compellingly talk about, apparently, this. And just like we try to do, or seem to try to do, is to talk about this. But it's all just sound. It's just random fucking sound.
Birds chirping.
The one talking is the one listening.
Well, I've asked this question before, I know, but everything expressing. Okay. Now, everything expressing somehow doesn't, I don't know how we would infer that that is meaningless. The way I seem to hear it is that it's meaningless. Everything expressing good. But I can't say it's meaningless. I can't say it's meaningful. Since I don't know the wholeness, or I cannot know the wholeness, I can't speak the expression of the wholeness.
And you can't not speak the expression of the wholeness, right?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
And well, you can't do it and you can't not do it. You can't not, I mean, well, I'm just kind of reaffirming what you're saying is that there's no knowledge there of what anything is, what meaning is, or because it's all the wholeness. It all comes together all the time. You know, everything is always included at every point. Is that not what you were saying?
It's included, and we can't say it's meaningless. I keep hearing in lots of non-dual stuff that it's meaningless, or nihilism, you know, meaningless. And I'm going, maybe, I mean, I don't know, but can't
Well, I
say.
think you said it. You
can say it.
can't know if it's meaningless or not, or meaning,
Right.
or completely meaningful, or
So
what
we
even, yeah.
Right. So we can't really speak. I'm thinking, or the wholeness, we don't know. So this thing called wholeness that we don't know, well, we don't know. So me and my story, to bring my story into it, I say the wholeness has a meaning. Now that's my story, and I don't know that. But I can say that too.
That's wholeness saying that.
Mhm. Fine.
So no problem. Like Nkosi just said, I love this and I hate this are both wholeness.
The mind hates paradox and it hates both and. Yeah. Things have to be this or that.
Yeah. It always goes back to knowing. I know that there's this and there's that, and they're different, and I need to know which is which and which is the right one, and all of those questions that come up. But that's where nihilism, so nihilism says, I know that there's something called mattering. Like there's something called things mattering, and I know that nothing does matter. So that would be like the nihilist position, but it includes the knowledge. It includes somebody who knows. So that's why what we're talking about here is nothing to do with nihilism, because we're not seeing anything that's known. We're just seeing unknowability everywhere. So there's nowhere to take a position from. And then if a position is taken, then that's also this. But we don't know what that is either. Because there's no way where to stop and say, okay, now I'm done, and now I know this is it. This isn't stopping anywhere.
It's interesting because the mind will want to boil things down into logical steps or aphorisms or this, therefore that statements. But unknowing is just apparently talked about without a consistent path towards a destination. It's just a description. And it's it's not a thing. It's anything, and it's not a thing. So it is irrelevant what words ultimately are spoken about it, because all the words are equally this, and not, they don't encapsulate this, but then they also are, how could they not be this?
So the mind is always on a journey toward a destination. This is the destination. It's the beginning, it's the middle, it's the end, it's everything. But there, yeah. So the mind is always looking. It wants that logical, the logical process. It wants the logic because that's going to help me get to my destination. Logic is the tool. That's the agenda. But this is already at the destination. Like I just said, it's, has nothing to do with a journey. But as long as you're on a journey, then you're going to be completely looking at how am I going to get there? What will help me get there? So that's what the mind is interested in. And then if somebody tells me there's no there, then I try to see how can I figure out, how can I understand that there's no there? So now that's my new destination. It goes on and on.
Yeah, that's the allure, Dan, of non-duality, is it's going to explain nothing. And as soon as I understand what nothing is, then I'll be good to go.
Yep.
So that's a knowing. You can't, it's impossible. How could you know nothing?
Or how can you get to where you just always are, or everything is always already?
Well, Nkosi, that's why you're always saying it's just what's effortless and obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just what is. It's here. It's always here. It's not doing anything. It's just here. It's not here because somebody has been meditating, has been going deeper in meditation. It's just here by itself. And it's not here for somebody. It's not here to be known. It doesn't want to be known because there's no one here. It's just itself. It's going nowhere. There may seem to be a movement happening, but this doesn't move. What seems to be the movement is just an imagination or an appearance in it. But this is always here. There's no intention. There's no expectation. It's not waiting for anything to happen. There's no desire. But what seems to be the desire may seem to appear in it as it. It has no limitation. It may express in various ways. It may express itself in different ways. It doesn't really matter. And what seems to be somebody saying, oh, I can't get this. No, I'm getting it now. No, I've lost it. It's just an appearance. It's just an imagination. It doesn't mean anything. It's going nowhere. So there's nobody to get anything here, and there's nobody who can ever teach this. So no one can ever be misled, because there's already no one here. So everything is beautiful. Every expression is beautiful, because it's just wholeness expressing.
So Nkosi, you said there's already no one here to get this.
Yes, already. There's no victim here. There's no sufferer already. There's no doer already. There's no one who is in the journey here. What seems to be the knower is already the unknown. So it doesn't matter if it knows so much stories, it doesn't matter, because it's already the unknown. So it cannot be helped. The one who wants to know more, it's okay, because that one is already the unknown. So it doesn't matter.
The unknown imagining it knows.
Exactly.
So beautiful. Any last comments or questions before we close out this evening?
Just wanted to make a recommendation to Eric, since he's brought up Alan Watts so many times. The Way of Zen, he talks about, you use the word spontaneity countless a lot of times tonight. He dives into the Sanskrit word chujan and what that means as far as spontaneity. It's sort of the philosophy of the Tao, but I would highly recommend. That's the book that got me on my path, so to speak. So
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Thank you for your sharing.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, everyone, to each and every one of you. Thank you for coming. Nkosi, no words. Have a great evening, everyone. Good night.
See you guys.
Bye, everybody.
All right.